He was getting the hang of this. There was a way through to victory. He could feel it. He just had to keep running the path of Destinies. With that, the book fluttered back to the beginning, and he fell into it. The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced. Renata knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong, but he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Iblis stone was hidden there. It was a dangerous artifact. It could corrupt its user into a bloodthirsty monster. Maybe he could find a way to use it, to take its power without surrendering to its wickedness. And also, his old friend Lupino needed rescuing. Of course, Renato had a pretty strong suspicion that Lupino had betrayed the rebellion. But could Renato really leave an old friend to the Ravens? The island was windswept desert. Every child could sing verses about the Sky Ripper, but ancient codices held hints of other things. A stone that ate souls, a ruby that drank blood, a jewel only a righteous man could give away. Were all these things the Iblis stone? Long hidden in a buried temple, another ancient item that was only resurfacing now, drawn up from the deeps by the Emperor's horrific rituals? Ooh, wouldn't his gauntlet look swell with that jewel in it? What was he doing here? Last time, the stone had fought him for possession of his own soul. Didn't I just kill your brother? Ravens were already here, cawing in frustration. They were still searching for a way in. Good. Then he hadn't come too late. Think of all the artisans he was creating employment for. Truly, he was a job creator. Yours, said Renato, but he couldn't hear his enemy's answer. It was time for a little exploration. That's my order, thought Renata. He was such a wit. Building these platforms was so expensive, they'd run out of budget for guardrails. What else could you hook? There had to be some way to use the Iblis stone. It was old, wasn't it? People are so much cleverer now. And Renata was pretty sure he was cleverer than most people. That could come in handy in a pinch. Not everyone knew how to use magical gems. Of course, not everyone had magical gem gauntlets like he did. The Ravens, at least, could not get past this point. Obviously, the temple builders knew how to deal with tomb raiders. He knew the known knowns, and even some of the known unknowns. but he didn't know the unknown unknowns. You dig? This couldn't be good for global warming. It was a stone of the purest blackness. It reflected no light, like a void made solid. Nervous, he picked it up. I can make you mighty. Who said that? Give blood. It was the stone. Eager, thirsty. Kill the Emperor's daughter. That seemed tempting and terribly wrong. Zenobia was the Emperor's greatest general and a potent witch. But they had been close once, and he had a sneaking suspicion the gem would try to control him. Why not capture the core of Skyripper instead? It was the eye of a lost god torn out by the transcendent Emperor to power his greatest weapon. Not the core, said the stone anxiously. But even though Renato knew how evil the gem was, he had a clever plan for dealing with it. Why was he listening to a talking rock? But the rock had a point. If the stone could truly turn him into a powerful warrior, he could defeat the Emperor with the very weapon the wicked old toad had sought for himself. To be a hero, you had to sacrifice old friends sometimes, especially when they've become enemies. As he placed the impossibly black crystal in his gauntlet, Renato had a sudden vision. Charred fields covered in dead ravens below a black sun. Was it the time of the lost gods before the transcendent Emperor? Was it the future? Feed souls, it whispered. Take the power. He could feel the stone's hunger for souls, its thirst for blood. All right, I get it. This was going to be interesting. Oh, hey, there's a couple of red spots on your feathers. Oh, wait, not yet. Newly remembered knowledge. He needed to focus. Nice. That could be useful.
The ravens on Zenobia's island were no match for Reynardo. They screamed as the stones sucked out their souls. And with each death, he felt stronger. Take the power, the stone told him.
I need more materials, thought Reynardo. Reynardo, smash! Well, no sense collecting more materials. It was time to make something pointy. He couldn't do worse with Zenobia than he'd done with the core, could he? Magical jewel. Reynardo couldn't wait to find a workbench. Sleep tight, thought Reynardo. Zenobia was waiting for Reynardo. She was alone, confident as always. Fire danced at the tips of her claws.
Are you here to surrender?
She seemed as cocksure as he felt. But she didn't know he had the stone.
And I've missed you too, love.
He chuckled. She spotted the stone and bolted without another word. It would be fun to try out that one. And here was a handy workbench. He hadn't noticed that path before.
Finally, Renato caught up to her. He had never seen her scared before. At school, she'd been the determined, brave one. Now her eyes were wide, frightened. He didn't like seeing her this way. "Kill her," whispered the stone. "You cannot win your rebellion without it." "Please." "No," said Zenobia. "Not that way." Oh, they had been so close once. Could he really feed her soul to his demonic gem? But if he spared her, he would not get the full power of the stone. Oh, how could he be the hero he wanted to be?